I don't know if you saw an announcement by the European Commission a couple of days ago about Scale Up Europe. So I think this panel is very, very, very relevant to all of us in the audience, for those of you that have founded and are growing companies. So the panel today is moderated by Davor Habel. I do consider Davor a good friend. I've known him for a long time in London. He's a partner at Eight Roads Ventures, formerly known as Fidelity Ventures, Fidelity Growth Partners, and he's focusing on software, internet, and digital media. Davor sits on the boards of InnoGames, Not on the High Street, Revo, Packlink, and more too. So he knows this sector inside and out, and he's seen a lot of high-growth, high-scaling companies. And interesting fact about Davor, this is what I like. I've known him so long, I've gone on a few ski trips with Davor, and I'll never forget the day where he literally did one of the most amazing wipeouts I have ever seen. It was brilliant. Literally, I was at the bottom of the hill, and he went all the way from the top, tumbled all the way down. It was probably easily a kilometer worth of tumble. It was deeply funny. We did think he was dead. Skis everywhere, hat everywhere, and then we had to actually dig him out of the snow. Davor, that fall is a legendary fall to this day. So with that, please come on stage, panelists, and Los Cracks de los Apps, how to grow your business. Come on up.
Yep. All right. How's everyone doing? As you've heard, my name is Davor. I'm the moderator for the next 30-odd minutes, and I have a great privilege to talk to some of the most successful Spanish startups, actually some of the most successful global startups. Here on my left, we have Corner Job, followed by Wallapop, followed by Fiverr representatives. And what I wanted to do, and to get us started, is for everyone to say a couple of words about themselves and their company and the problem they're solving.
Yep. So I'm David Rodriguez. I'm the CEO of Corner Job, co-founded with Gerard, actually, here, and two other co-founders, Mauro and Miguel Vicente. So we started more than a year ago. Myself, I'm French. My name is David Rodriguez, which sounds very Spanish, but I'm actually French. And before that, I was general manager of Halo in the UK, so another both-sided marketplace. And the problem we're trying to solve is basically disrupting recruitment for blue-collar workers with a promise which is making the whole experience much more fluid and quick and fast and easy, and guaranteeing an answer within 24 hours. And that's what we've been doing for more than a year now.
Hello, my name is Gerard Oliver, and I'm co-founder of Anti-Venture Builder. That is a company builder where we build companies like Wallapop, Corner Job, Global Delivery, or Be Pretty. We have presence in 10 countries, Southern Europe and South America, and something small in the United States. And we are mainly specialized in mobile and scaling really, really fast and executing fast. I think it's our main point.
So my name is Pep. I'm the founder of Fiverr, which is the largest event discovery platform in the world. We are backed by Davor, among other investors, amazing investors, Axel, and so on. And I'm also now chairman of Numa, which is the first growth acceleration program in Europe, backed by Mobile World Congress.
So just to kick off, and as Pep, you said, we are proud investors in both Wallapop and Fiverr. Mobile-first marketplaces. There is no global leader in mobile classifieds. There is no global leader in mobile jobs, and there is no global leader in event discovery. Why Spain? Can you guys tell us a little bit about why you think there are companies that are contending for the global leadership here in Barcelona, Madrid, you name it? Why?
I think it's like a perfect storm, what happened in Barcelona, obviously in Madrid. I think that Spain it's becoming a great place for entrepreneurs. It's a hub for South America. It's like a rival beach from United States. It's a great place to start your startup and going to the rest of the Europe. You can find talent, and I think it's really, really important. It's the most important thing in our industry, and a reasonable price. So I think that's really, really important also. And the second point is that the ecosystem has changed a lot during the last 7 years, 5 to 7 years. You can find in Spain entrepreneurs, like serial entrepreneurs, doing companies for third and fourth time. I think that it's really, really important. And the employees of that first companies, from Grupo Intercom, for example, in Classifieds, Idealista, Privalia, Let's Bonus. So different companies with global ambition. And the teams of that companies are going to the new companies, are becoming entrepreneurs. So I think that it's really important. So that talent, plus talent that's coming from outside Spain. A lot of people, for example, in Barcelona, are coming from the Nordics, from the United States, and also from South America. Yeah, there's a lot of people.
Because I look at Letgo and Wallapop, and I think you guys announced some exciting news around a combination in the US with Naspers. I mean, that's a global, potentially a global number one in arguably maybe one of the biggest markets we've ever seen, mobile classifieds. Mm-hmm. I mean, I understand that there are some repeat entrepreneurs, but how does it happen that, out of Barcelona comes such an amazing group of entrepreneurs?
I think that there's a school about classifieds. The leader of the desktop classifieds in Europe and South America and different countries are from Barcelona. So you can find the Intercom school with Softonic and InfoJobs and different classifieds. And part of the team of Letgo are coming from that school. So I think that's important. Trovit, for example. So there's a school of classifieds industry in Barcelona.
And I can also speak freely about it because actually I didn't really know this ecosystem until we started the business together a bit more than a year ago. And I was amazed to see all talents that you can acquire here. We spoke about people coming from the Nordics, from the US, but also it's not only for tech, but also we have a lot of operations in Europe. And we now are building an inside sales team, for instance, in Barcelona, and you get a lot of Italian, French. It's very cosmopolitan and easy to get people to work in Barcelona, that's for sure.
And the good weather helps, I presume?
It does. It definitely does.
I think it's good weather, reasonable price, a good quality, reasonable salaries, and then the talent is magnetic, so talent attracts talent, and it's becoming bigger.
Yes, how many foreigners just in the audience who live in Spain at this point? A few?
Some of them.
But it's happening. People coming back. And David, where were you before?
Yeah, I was in London before at Halo, and something that I saw also was we had a lot of developers coming from Spain at the time. That was a couple of years ago. And now with all the projects that are starting in Barcelona, in Madrid, or in other places in Spain, we're seeing them coming back to Spain actually, because there are projects. So as you say, it's a virtuous cycle. More projects attract more talents, and the ecosystem grows here. So yes, as everywhere else, you have to fight to get the good talent. But you get them at a more reasonable price because costs are not the same here as in the UK, and people have a better quality of life. So it's a very attractive space. Yeah.
I mean, a little bit what I think we've seen in Berlin, where alternatives were actually pretty limited when the Zamvas and the rest of the guys started setting up companies in Berlin. It has led to a tremendous renaissance. I wonder whether you think actually the credit crunch was good for Spain for tech entrepreneurship.
I think it was really good. I think it helped us a lot. I think all the crunch came all the way through Germany, France, and of course Spain. So I think it was a really good opportunity for us to catch better talent. I mean, one thing that is important that David mentioned before, and I think I consider it really important, is 2 years ago, the good Spanish entrepreneurs and developers were thinking that going to London and going to these startups in London was the cool place. Was the cool thing to do. Like, if you were smart enough, you would go to these startups in London. Now, you start to see that the good developers say, I'm going to go to Wallapop. I want to go to Corner Job. I want to go to whatever, right? To
Fever.
Work there. No, but what
I'm
saying
afraid
is
we
that
might actually even close the borders soon in the UK.
No, but what I'm saying is like it's way different. It's not that much everything is happening in London. It's more about what companies are doing it, and it just happens there in Spain. So I think it's a good opportunity for us to be more and more strong.
And you know, one of the things that we've heard for a long time in Europe is the question around, well, you know, we're missing, you know, repeat entrepreneurs, or we're missing capital, or we're missing the capital that understands how to build great companies. What is your experience? You're no longer at the startup stage. You know, you're at the kind of the scale-up stage. What are the kind of issues you had to deal with, and how you have overcome them, both in terms of you being in Europe and being in Spain, obviously?
I think that the issue here in Spain, in my opinion, in our case, it's stock options and the regulation in taxes. In Spain, when you're giving stock options to someone, they have to pay taxes that year without liquidity for that stock. So it's not capital gains, and that's a huge problem. So the solution is like building a kind of phantom stock options plan that it's not really
Doesn't happen until the exit, basically.
yeah, you know, it's different. It's not anybody understanding it very well. So I think that that's the issue in Spain, the stock options.
Sorry, Pep, go ahead.
No, so I think one thing that you did pretty well in the UK, I know you're not originally from the UK, but you lived in the UK many years, is this EMI, Enterprise Management Incentive, whatever, which is a plan specifically for these things, right? So to have a little bit less taxable and more stock options without all the hurdle of the income tax. So I think something like that is something that needs to happen in Spain pretty soon. I agree with Gerard.
Another point, maybe we didn't run into that problem because we launched in other countries and not in Spain initially, but it's sometimes that, you know, when you're starting in Spain and Spain is your first market, it's sometimes harder to convince of the potential of the project for investors coming from Northern Europe who look at other markets, mainly the UK and other ones. So that's also something to take in mind from scratch. You know, if you really want to go big, start thinking expansion very quickly also, and choose your market accordingly.
How many markets are you guys in now?
So we're in 4 markets. We started in Italy, then France, then Spain, and then Mexico. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How about Wallapop? How many markets are you operating in?
We are in 4 countries. United States with the joint venture with Let Go, and then Spain, Italy, more or less, France, and UK.
3. US, UK, and Spain.
On the other hand, Davor, I think that's important that in Spain, I think that there's an issue with the stock options for the part of, the government, but it's something that I think Spain is doing very well. It's the work that ENISA is doing, helping the entrepreneurs in the seed. So complementing the investment in seed, I think they are doing a very, very good job. Institut Català de Finança also, and then the FEI with the programs helping the business angels. I think that they help a lot to change the ecosystem.
And you know, I think the stock options, and I don't know, again, how many entrepreneurs in the room have the same issue, but we have issues, you know, in Germany, we have issues in a number of European countries of the same kind. And certainly it feels like, people need to be more educated on what equity also means. So I don't know whether you've actually educated your employees to understand the value. Because, certainly in the Silicon Valley, if you think about people who have been at Google and Microsoft, people have gotten wealthy over the years having small amounts of equity. So I think when we're talking about companies that become $1 billion, $10 billion companies, even a small amount of equity, even if it's in virtual option scheme, can be very valuable. So I don't know whether you see people actually having any sort of issues of educating them that could actually be transformative for their lives.
No, I guess, that's a big part of the attractivity of projects also, at early stages, particularly. Getting the right talents in the leadership team always comes with this equity part. And that's also a way when you're early in the process to actually make sure that you get people who believe in the project or are getting involved because of the project and what they see and the vision they see in the project.
Well, I wanted to sort of spend a bit of time just really understanding the macro situation in Spain with some of the companies. You'll all agree, I think, that they're phenomenal companies. Let's turn our attention a little bit to talk about growth and partnerships. Maybe, again, David, if you want to start talking about some of the kind of turbocharging hacks, if you will, of what can people do to really turbocharge their growth in their companies?
Yeah, well, something we did was partner with media and mass media leaders in all the markets where we launched. That's not adapted to all models. We're really mass market because, as I said, our segment is blue collar, which actually represents 80% of the population in each market we're in. So that was particularly relevant for us, but that was a real boost. We started in France mid-December. We had a competitor trying to do more or less the same as what we're doing. And after 3 months, because they didn't have this power of mass media, basically they had to get out of the market. So that once again is adapted to certain businesses, very mass market.
And do you see media companies that understand what this means and how to kind of make the partnerships work? Because oftentimes the issue is, you get the remnant inventory on some random channel at 2 a.m. and you're kind of excited for a while, and then you realize that you're not really getting a lot of traction.
No, so yeah, you're perfectly right, and I think there's a different stage of development for media for equity in different countries in Europe. All the partners that we're working with are definitely not at that stage of giving unsold inventory. So what we're getting is 30% prime time. We're really choosing all the inventory that we're using, and we're seeing many benefits in that. One of them is obviously brand awareness. The example I gave earlier was clearly the result of massive brand awareness we got very quickly. The impact on acquisition costs also of your user base, because we see that as you build branding, then the click-through rates are getting much better, and then your acquisition costs go down in online performance. So there's a link between the two. Your organic growth also, we've gone from 20% organic downloads of our application up to 40 and something in just a few months, thanks to the power of branding and TV. So there's a lot of great elements, and TV channels really love, or mass media players, offline ones, love to work with companies like us because there's a share of information, optimization of campaigns, and they get a lot of data that they don't usually get with consumer brands, which is, in our case, the effectiveness of their spots all over the day. We do attribution of spots and have a lot of information for them.
Is there some sort of a minimum commitment? Again, if I'm a startup CEO, sometimes the numbers can kind of get pretty. How small can you start TV campaigns? And when does that really work? Is it working kind of at the launch stage of a particular city or market, or is it you're trying to kind of get in at a slightly later stage?
There again, it really depends on your business, and I don't think it's adapted to every business. So in our case, we're a two-sided marketplace, which means that you have to have a balanced marketplace, and you have to go both sides of the marketplace at the same time. If we were an Airbnb-like, where the supply actually means spending a lot of time creating an account and uploading pictures and things and taking half an hour, we wouldn't have used it, because you're getting people who want to get the service very quickly, but then the ones who can offer it, you don't really get them through TV. In our case, the marketplace is balanced because recruiters and employers, it's as easy for both sides to create a profile in a minute and start it. So that's why it worked for us. And same thing, we're national. I mean, we're national-wide in all of our countries, whereas for many players, I don't know, food delivery, for instance, usually it's very local. So that's maybe not the main, the most appropriate media.
And how many people have seen Wallapop ads on TV?
Voila.
Okay.
Voila.
Good. So Gerard, that's a very interesting thing that David says about TV. I guess TV must have been pretty successful for you at Wallapop.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about again the do's and don'ts of TV advertising? By the way, were the ads good? Yes. Oh, excellent. Okay, good.
Yes, I think that for me the question about media for equity, first of all, regarding the conversation, is that I don't know if media for equity it's not good or bad. It's advertising, and advertising, you can find good advertising and bad advertising in terms of media planning and in terms of creativity. So I think that's the first constraint. It's media for equity. It's good as advertising. It's good if it's well executed. I think that's the first thing. The second thing, it depends on the business. In Antai, we did during last year in Antai companies media for equity deals for around between 40 and 45 million euros in 10 different countries. So we strongly believe in media for equity and building a strong brand. And this is something, this is what we did in Wallapop, like trying to build a strong brand. The first thing about Wallapop is that the buyers and sellers and the sellers and buyers. So it's the two-side marketplace, but in the two sides, it's the same user. So you can grow more organically, and it's more easy than an Airbnb or Corner Job. So it's about having users. So we did the first campaign in April and May. We launched the company September. So 8 months later, we were working on advertising and newspapers and billboard. So literally, the company we did a per 3 in metrics and users and everything. We had more than 80% on organic. The brand the brand awareness in Wallapop in Spain is really strong. I think it's in the top 5 brands more recognized in terms of brand awareness right now. And having a look in Apani, around 50% of the smartphones from Spain Wallapop is installed in. So I think that it's about branding. We strongly believe in building the brand awareness, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Building brand awareness with billboard, TV, newspapers, branded content, influencers. I think it's really, really important working with influencers as a growth hacking strategy also. And then performance. You can get a higher and a better performance when you're building a brand. It's easy selling Coca-Cola than Casera Cola. Sure. It's easy. So building that brand in terms of digital and in terms of markets, in terms of organic performance, make a lot of sense in our opinion.
And I guess the flip side of doing that is thinking about user economics, and lifetime values and all the things that the VCs like myself showing up in your offices will ask about. And building a brand it's hard to quantify, where's my brand today and how long is it going to take for me to get to the next level of the brand. So, Pep, I know you guys have done a bit more on online. Can you just maybe reflect on the things that work and don't work for mobile-first companies when you actually forget about TV for a second and focus only on...
No TV, okay. So no TV, one thing that we did a lot is content marketing. So basically we started doing a lot of paid installs, and at some point I know you said no TV, but if you do TV combination with ads, it works pretty well. But the moment where we reached this tipping point where we started to grow super fast was when we started to do content marketing. So we realized that many people were taking decisions. And this is for every startup is different. For our startup is that thing because people is looking for things to do. So for us, it was pretty obvious to show content of what to do in Madrid, what to do in London, right? And then it's a good way to cross-sell these people and to actually invite them to use Fever or make them as an opportunity to use Fever. So for us, we did a lot of that, and that worked pretty well for us. But again, I think it depends on the kind of product. For us, it's not that many. It was tricky at the beginning because there's many apps doing the same thing. So you need to get the attention of the users with indirect ways that you really will engage the users at a price that actually works. As you said, people you will come and say, hey, what's your lifetime value? What's your CAC? And then if it's a really crowded market, like it's event discovery, you need to be really creative on finding ways to grow really fast, but also get a payback pretty soon.
Well, I think in a couple of minutes, we'll turn it over to the audience for some of your questions. So give it some thoughts about some juicy, difficult questions for our panelists. But meanwhile, just talking about the long-term future now, how do you think about success for the long term? Is it are you going to stay headquartered in Spain? Do you need to set up an office in New York and move all your management there? Like, what do you think will kind of for scale-up companies that originate from Spain? What is success going to look like in a few years' time?
We have no intention moving out of Spain because we're really well there. We have the beach there, and once again, to attract talent, that's great. We already have offices in all the markets we're at, and what's really important is to have people who know the market and not just do things remotely. In our case, we're still in real life dealing with companies who need employees, and you need to know the dynamics in each of the markets. That's why from scratch, as I said, I'm French, one of the co-founders is Italian, 2 of them are Spanish, and these are the markets we entered. And a key factor of success, I think, was there. We knew those markets. So yes, if we're expanding, you're talking about the US, which is not in the immediate plans, but anywhere else, we'll need to have that. We'll need to have people who are really involved in the business and who know those markets. Then for tech, right now we're happy, having our headquarters in Europe for tech and product.
So sorry about that. Regarding the expansion, because I think this was a Dove that actually Davor and I had long discussions about this, and I think it's important that you explain us, or you give us a little bit of ideas about this. How do you approach expansion at Corner Job? How do you think about opening a new market? Do you bring the guys in Barcelona, you coach them for a few months, or you send internal people there, or how does it work?
No, so the way we've done it is really more starting in the field there and coming to Barcelona to meet the rest of the team, of course have an onboarding, but it's really directing to the action within the countries. What we've done then is also expand from very local to national. So in Italy, for instance, we launched in Milan with a small team there to make sure, once again, that the marketplace was well balanced between offers and employers at local level, and then went up to national within 4 months. But still with a central team. Now we have someone in Rome and also a few others, but usually with one single office in the country.
And they need to be there? They need to keep there?
And they are there. They are there. And we definitely need that because there's day-to-day relationship with our customer base, yeah.
I think that's really important, like understanding the country where you are doing business.
Yeah.
So Italy or France or South America, United States or wherever. So having presence there and team there, I think it's important, but we don't have any kind of intention of moving from Barcelona to New York.
But it's fascinating because if you again think about the world, of software as a service, or where you need to have enterprise sales and you need to have heavy offices. It's almost like, you need a kind of an MD of a city or a country depending on your model. But then effectively, you can use the global platforms, be that Facebook, the App Store, and so on and so forth, to really reach both sides of the marketplace.
Yeah.
I guess maybe in Fever's case, in the Corner Job, maybe there's a little bit more of going to the business side, right, and getting the supply. But it's fascinating that actually you can be very lightweight in the individual markets in which you expand into.
Exactly. That even if you look at players like LinkedIn and great players like those who are global players, they actually scaled their platform, as you said, and decided not to have too many staff or even not having any offices in each of the countries where they were present. And then they ended up actually creating those sales teams. And usually that's what they have, and that's what we had from scratch, just sales representations within the countries, once again for the customer relationship. But the rest, the whole platform, tech, marketing, everything can be centralized. That's the beauty of these models too. Yeah?
I think that is something that it can be done using that structure, but of course depending the business. For example, if you are more in enterprise software, maybe you have to go to Silicon Valley, or if you are more in fintech, so maybe you have to go to New York. So we are open in that way because you never know. But I think that right now it's working very well with a global mentality, having like teams in each country and the founders and the CEO traveling a lot and working all together.
Great. And do you then think, so again, taking a longer term view, seems like you have a day job and you gotta get stuff done, but looking at, both Gerard and Pep, do you think there will be more companies like the Wallapop and Fever and Corner Job coming out of Spain? Do you have any ideas you're working on that you can share with us in terms of either exciting projects or things where you say, look, you heard it here first, folks. Like the Wallapop of tomorrow is going to be.
Winter is coming.
No, I think that. Sure, I think that in Spain we'll appear more Wallapops, more Corner Jobs, more Fevers, for sure, because it's. You can find talent and the ecosystem is growing, and I think that we have a great future, and I strongly believe in that. And now we are working a lot in classifieds, of course, with Corner Job, and also in last mile with Globo, that's an app that you can order wherever what you want. So it's not only restaurants, and it's growing a lot. And Delivery, that's a kind of marketplace with immediate delivery for groceries, beverage, and food. It's growing like 90% month over month, and with a very nice metrics and CAC and lifetime value. It's working, and the unit economics is working very well. So I think it's one point. The other one we are working it's about cars. I think that it's changing a lot. Nobody knows in which way. But I think that there's a lot of things about hardware and software and entertainment for the users and payment, gas stations, and insurance. So I think there's a lot of things to do, and we are working really focused on that in that way.
Great.
I think what Gerard says is really interesting. So there's still many traditional. It seems that it's not because there's many startups out there, but there's still many traditional sectors that need to be disrupted. Real estate, mortgages, smart contracts, all this thing. It's huge. I think it's going to be huge. Fintech, I think, yes, there's something as FX, whatever, but I think it's going to be even better for like banks. Like, what's the future of banking? What's all these things, right? And then I think those are two things that I like. And then the one that he likes a lot, I like it a lot too, which is I just got my first car and it's a mess. So I think anything related to
You bought
this
an old
kind
one
of
or a new one?
Huh?
Did you buy a new one or an old one?
A new one, but it's a renting, and then you need to do this and that. But that you could do it with a product that is easier. You can renegotiate. You need to do it manually, calling the dealers and so on, and then you realize the broker makes more money than what you do because it's like it's.
So will you invest angel checks in those kind of companies? I mean, if there are anybody here, can they talk to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Of course.
Great.
Yes.
Well, we have about 5 minutes left, so I'd like to turn it over to the audience for some of your questions. I think there is a microphone floating around.
Hello? Hi. I was wondering if you could elaborate a bit more on the content marketing, because we just launched, and I was in particular, how long did it take to start showing some tangible results? And also, if you outsourced part of it, or you kept everything in-house?
So we did everything in-house. Actually, the story is pretty funny, and I think I can tell it because now it's a while. I met this guy who used to be in a dating app that he used to be super good at growth hacking. Super good. I remember I told Davor, I met this guy, he's super smart, whatever. And I met him, and he was in Paris. But I discovered that this guy was basically bringing a lot of girls into dating apps, which typically is more difficult for people who do dating because it's the way it works, okay? And I just thought this guy was super smart because the way he was doing it is he was not positioning the product as dating, but he was positioning the product as use cases, particular use cases, right? The story, the first use case, the zero use case. So when I saw that, when I met him, I got him for sushi for 5 nights, consecutive nights, please. Then we brought him in, and he implemented these techniques inside us. So basically what he did is he started to create stories around what people would do with Fever. Hey, this is what happened. This is how I just discovered a new thing to do this Friday. Or this is a new cooking thing that I want to do. This is a new yoga thing that these things. But this is specific, segmented, I would say content. When I say content, it's blogs, all these things. Okay?
In-house.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and everything in-house. And everything between us and in-house, so we could test everything. So every day, I don't know about now, but a few months ago, we were running a lot of I'm telling you, hundreds of consecutive campaigns at the same time. And testing, different messages, different things. But again, it's all about your product and how can you extract value of the product in a different way that your competitors are doing. Because if you say the same thing, you're competing with them, and you only compete with pricing, and they do the same. But if you did it in another way, maybe you get a lower price, more impact, Facebook rewards you more. So I think this is the way to think about it. More like hacky, tricky kind of way.
Great. Thank you, Pep. Anybody else? One more question, a tough one. Come on.
Come on, guys. It's a good panel. We're about Scale Up Europe.
If there's no questions, I'm going to ask my own question to the panelists.
Last chance. Oh, wait,
Okay, here we go. We have one.
Thank you.
I would like to ask about the retention from the users in the apps. What is the the main tactic strategy to manage the retention? Thank you very much.
So this is post. So just post the download, maintaining the engagement of the users.
Yes, when you get users, you have to engage the
Great
users
question.
with the
Great
platform.
question.
Yeah, I think that's a key point. And of course, the first thing it's the product. If it's the product, it's a good product for the user. We can see on Wallapop and in Glovo, also Corner Shop on delivery, but mainly Wallapop and that on demand deliveries. The cohort after 1 month, it's really stable. So it's really, really important that, and the users are repeating. So it's the repetition, it's increasing month over month, and that's really important. Having that cohort in positive, in that kind of business. For example, in Corner Job, maybe you can talk it better. It's different because when you find that your job, you're not using more the app for a short period of time because it's blue collar, no? But it's really important. I think that that way it's the quality of the product. First of all, the second thing it's working about customer journey and CRM, and I think that in mobile. We need more tools. So there's a lot of tools that are appearing, but it's not that like desktop. So regarding customer journey and mobile and statistics. So we have to work a lot about that.
And the last point I would say on top of those two to build on this is obviously making sure that they are delivering the promise. I mean, in our case, you need to find a job very easily, or else, no matter what you do in product to make the experience nicer, people won't stick to it. So that's actually, I would say, even the first one.
It's important. It's important not having the retention, paying for that retention.
Exactly.
So it's a keep. So there's a lot of companies like building retention, doing retargeting, and that things.
You pay retention, so but investors know that. So.
Yeah. Well, great. Yeah. I'm sorry we ran out of time, but Pep, Gerard, David, thank you very much. I just want to announce that this is the place where you met the first $10 billion mobile-first company from Spain. So one of you guys three. I expect to see some great outcomes in the future from you. So thank you, everybody, and thank you all.
Thank you.